Your father was staring under my gown.
Lower your voice.
Did you hear what I said?
It is part of our tradition.
Tradition, your father almost looked inside my body.
Mind how you speak about my father.
Gabriel, this family is beginning to scare me.
Then don't disrespect the rules.
This is how it started. I stopped wearing pants to bed at night the day my husband's father visited my house because of their tradition. But the moment he started peeping under my skill art at the dining table, I knew that this was more than tradition. My father is the head of the house, and we must obey him, my husband said. Any time he visits, we must show him that we have nothing to hide. This is our tradition for peace and long life. I was in disbelief, thought my husband was joking, but there was not a single smile on his face. Honey, how can I stay without wearing pants? What sort of tradition is this? I asked, disgusted. My love, this is a golden rule in our family that must be passed down from generation to generation. At that point, I was confused. So many questions were running through my mind. What sort of tradition was that? In fact, how would his father even know if I truly wear a pant or not? But I never knew what was coming. I wanted to be a good wife, so I obeyed the words of my husband. Besides, his father would be staying for only a week. So there I was, sitting at dinner in a loose gown, feeling exposed and nervous, when suddenly something shocking happened that stunned me to my bone marrow. My husband's father sat directly opposite me, but the man kept on dropping his napkin to the ground, and every time he bent down to pick it, his eyes would go straight in between my eye eggs. At first, I thought it was a mistake, but the moment it happened 5 good times, I knew that something was wrong. I looked at my husband, Gabriel, but he was busy eating. He didn't even notice how his father's eyes were wandering. "Is the food not good, sir?" I asked, my voice shaking. "My daughter," his father said, looking straight into my eyes. "I'm just admiring the very beautiful house you have here, and I'm so glad to enter inside," he said, smiling sheepishly. That night, I couldn't sleep. Gabriel, my husband, was snoring loudly beside me while I was still trying to process all that happened that day. Suddenly, our door pushed open. I froze in shock as my heart hammered against my ribs. There was still nothing under my nullity, just like the tradition demanded. I heard footsteps move closer to our bed, and that was when I looked. To my greatest disbelief, my jaw dropped in shock. Standing right there was my husband's father, reaching out to touch the edge of my blanket. "Sir," I called out, "what are you doing?" I was expecting him to pull back. He was in my own matrimonial room. My husband was right beside me, but he didn't seem afraid. Instead, he continued, and immediately he pulled the blanket completely off me. I couldn't believe my eyes. My husband was sleeping just beside me, for God's sake. This man leaned even closer to my ear and whispered, "Be quiet, my daughter," he muttered. "I have come to confirm if you truly obeyed our tradition, and most importantly, I must have a test of you. I must confirm if you put on any pent under there when I am in this house." I wanted to scream, but the words were stuck in my throat. My husband's father, a man I was supposed to respect, was standing right in front of me. In the name of tradition, I couldn't believe my eyes. What sort of tradition was that? What even shocked me the most was how my husband was snoring loudly when such a thing was going on in our room. I raised my hand up in the air, ready to give the old man a dirty siap, not even minding that he was my husband's father. "Sir, please leave this room," I said loudly. I turned to my husband, Gabriel, and shook him hard. "Gabriel, wake up! Your father is in our room." Gabriel groaned and turned over. He didn't even open his eyes. It was like he was drunk. "Don't bother him," the old man said. "Even if he was awake, there is nothing he can do about it. Did he not tell you? A good wife must serve the head of the family. This is tradition." Immediately, sweat broke out from my face. I felt a cold chill run down my spine. I was barely married to my husband for 2 months, and although we courted for almost a year, he never mentioned such a tradition to me. At that point, I was just hoping it was just an elaborate, exorbitant prank. "This must be a joke," I said, grabbing the edge of the bedsheet to cover myself. Our tradition is not just about not wearing pants, my daughter, he said. It is about total surrender. If you want your family to stay rich and successful, you must make me happy tonight. Sir, please, I said, getting even more agitated. Get out of our room right this moment. I can never participate in such a diabolic culture. My father-in-law did not move. He did not even look ashamed. He just kept staring at me, and that was when I knew that this was no longer a child's play. Don't be afraid, my daughter, he said, his voice calm, which made it even scarier. It was at that moment I saw a small black bag beside him. He quickly grabbed it and zipped it open. To my greatest shock, inside the bag were countless bundles of money. What is all that money for? I asked, trembling. He smiled. My daughter, I understand that it will never be easy for you to make such a tough decision. Even my wife hesitated when it was her time. He paused and observed my reaction. My daughter, he said again, this is a little prize for you. If only you can just obey, all this money will be yours. I stared at the bundies of money inside the black bag. Was this a dream? My father-in-law was offering me millions just to obey their tradition. Take it, he whispered, pushing the bag closer to me. This money will change your life. All you have to do is keep quiet and cooperate. I looked at my husband, Gabriel, who was still snoring beside me. Then I looked at the money. Immediately I remembered the businesses I desired to own, the places I wished to visit. All my fantasies came flashing through my mind, but as I looked at the smile on the old man's face, I instantly regained my senses. Keep your money, sir, I hissed, pushing the bag away. I am not for sale. Get out before I shout and wake up the whole neighborhood. His smile disappeared. His expression went sour and he zipped the bag close. You are making a big mistake, Sarah, he said. If you don't take the easy way, you will take the hard way. He stood up, walked to the door, and vanished out of sight. The next morning, as soon as the sun came up, I dragged Gabriel out of bed. I was vibrating with anger. Honey, wake up! I screamed. He rubbed his eyes, looking confused. Babe, what is it? Why are you shouting? Your father came into this room last night. He offered me money to sleep with him. According to him, he wanted to confirm if I were any pent under my gown. Gabriel remained silent, his face blank. Honey, are you hearing me? Your father said it is your tradition, that your mother did the same thing. My husband was still looking at me without even saying a word. Gabriel, say something, I fired. He sat up slowly. He didn't look shocked. He didn't look angry. He was just staring at the floor. I know, he finally spoke up. I felt like the ground should open and swallow me. You know, you knew your father was coming into our room to touch your wife and you did nothing. It was like someone had poured cold water on me. I stared at Gabriel, waiting for him to tell me it was a joke. But he just kept looking at the floor, unable to look into my eyes. Gabriel, we have been married for only 2 months. You promised to protect me, I cried. He finally looked up and I saw tears in his eyes. Sarah, you don't understand. My father is not a small man. Everything we have, this house, the car I drive, even the money I used for your bride price, it all belongs to him. Do I also belong to him? I shouted, hotting him on the chest as tears hung on my eyes. Not like that, my love. He said if I don't let him test you according to the tradition, he will take everything back. We will be on the street begging for bread. You have to understand that I did it for us. For us, I fired, walking towards the door. I will not be a part of this abomination. But just as I wanted to leave the room, my husband breezed towards the door and pushed it close. Immediately, he unlocked it and quickly removed the keys. Open this door, I said, my voice trembling. Don't let this end in a way we will both regret. I can't let you leave, Sarah, he replied firmly. If you walk out of this house and tell people what happened, my father will die with me. Is that what you want? To see your husband in the gutter? You are already in the gutter, Gabriel, I shouted. The moment you allowed your father to walk into our bedroom, you became worse than a gutter. Just as I was about to grab the keys from his hand, there was a loud knock on the door. What is going on in there? It was the voice of his father. He sounded like he had been eavesdropping the whole time. Gabriel froze in fear. He looked at the door, then back at me and whispered, "Please behave yourself. If you don't cooperate, my father will think I cannot handle my own wife, and he will take everything away from us today." "Open this door," the old man shouted from outside. "We must finish what we started last night before I head back to the village." Gabriel quickly answered his father. "Give us a minute, Papa. She is just dressing up." I crawled to the corner of the bed, shaking. "Gabriel, please," I begged. "Don't do this to me." "No." My husband didn't even look at me. He walked straight to the door, his hands shaking as he put the key into the lock. "I'm sorry, Sarah," he whispered, not looking back. "But my father promised to give me 50 million to clear my debts and start afresh. If I just let him have his way with you, I have no choice." My jaw fell to the ground. 50 million? He was selling my body to his own father just to clear his debts. Before I could even scream, Gabriel unlocked the door and opened it. His father stepped inside, his face beaming with desire. Gabriel did not waste any second. He walked out of the room, stepped past his father, and shut the door behind him. The old man locked the door from inside and pocketed the key. Immediately, he slowly began to until his wrapper, looking at me where LEIHPSI on the floor without any pence. As if that was not enough, my husband ioked me in a room with just his father, who was tying a towie. "Get away from me!" I screamed at my father-in-law, dragging myself backward on the floor until my back hit the way tie. The old man laughed. He tossed his towie onto the chair, leaving him in just his shorts. "You don't have to make a fuss about this, Sarah. It's not a big deal. What is wrong with a good wife obeying family tradition?" "This is not tradition," I cried, my eyes searching the room for anything I could use. "So my husband truly sold me to you for 50 million. Is that what you see me as? A commodity?" "Not at all," he said, stepping closer. 50 million is a small PRLCE to pay for a beautiful woman like you. Now stop making this difficult. Let us do this quickly." I looked behind me. There was nowhere to go, no place to run to. I had no choice but to give in. "Sir," I said in a low tone, "let's do it. I'm ready to take the money." Paused and smiled. "You are ready?" "Yes, sir," I replied. There's no point in struggling when we could enjoy the moment together. "It's just one time, right?" I asked. "Yes," he nodded, his smile widening from ear to ear. "Fine," I muttered. "We enjoy ourselves. I get paid. My husband gets paid. Everyone will be happy." "Wow," he exclaimed. "I always knew you were a good and obedient wife, the perfect one for my son." He loosened up and walked slowly towards me, trying to get himself ready. But just as he was distracted, I rushed with all my strength and collect him in the base. "You are an enemy, I screamed. I didn't waste a single second. I jumped up to my feet, but I couldn't run out of the door because the key was still in his pocket. Suddenly my eyes landed on the bedside table. My husband's second phone was lying there, plugged into the charger. The old man was already beginning to regain himself, struggling to stand up with anger in his eyes. "You dare click me? You will pay for this!" I snatched the phone off the table, my heart pounding against my ribs as I tried making a call to the nearest police station. But before I could even finish, the old man started moving slowly towards me. "Don't come near me!" I screamed, holding the phone up. "I swear to God, if you step forward, I will smush your face with this thing." Before I could even process what was going on, he ran towards me. Instinctively, I threw the phone at him. It hulked his H-thread and crashed to the ground. Before he could recover, I turned and ran straight into the master bathroom, slamming the door shut and ioking it just in time. "Open this door, Sarah," he shouted. "You cannot hide in there forever." I sat on the floor, tears streaming down my face. I was trapped, without any pants, inside a bathroom while my father-in-law was waiting outside the door. Suddenly, I looked up at the small bathroom window, and that was when a crazy idea entered my head. The window was small, high up, and only a child could fit through it easily. "Sarah, if I break this door, what I will do to you will be worse than before," the old man roared from the bedroom. I didn't answer him. I simply climbed onto the toilet seat, my legs shaking as I reached up and pushed the glass window open. But when I looked outside, fear gripped me. The ground outside looked far off and it was covered in sharp stones. To make matters even worse, I had no P at NTS on and my nightgown was loose. If I dropped D0WN, I could get completely lungered. Suddenly, I heard a loud bang on the door. My husband's father was beginning to hit it hard. There was no time to think. I quickly squeezed my head and shoulders through the tiny window frame. The rough edges scraped against my skeleton, but I ignored the pawn. I continued pushing, trying to get my whole body through. Suddenly, the bathroom door burst open. The old man had successfully entered inside. His rough hand grabbed the edge of my nightgown from inside. "Let me go!" I screamed, using all my might to push myself forward. The gown ripped completely, leaving the piece in his hand as I tumbled out of the window, fleeing straight into the dark backyard. I landed heavy on the dirt, sharp pawns shooting through my entire body. I trembled as I managed to stand up to my feet. I ran toward the back gate, tears streaming from my eyes. My only prayer was for the gate to be open. I pushed it, and to my greatest relief, my prayer was answered. Immediately, I took to my heels, running onto the street. It was early in the morning, but a few morning joggers and traders were already starting to appear. They stared at me in shock, a young woman running barefoot, covered in dirt, with a tea-on dress and nothing underneath. I didn't care anymore. The only thing on my mind was getting out of there. All of a sudden, just when I turned to my right, hoping to stop a vehicle, my eyes met a dark, huge figure standing just 2 steps away. Instantly, my legs started shaking. I almost sank into the ground as I recognized the voice. I saw my husband standing at the roadside. He was looking at me with no single pity in his eyes. "Sarah, where do you think you are going to?" he fired. "Gabriel," I whispered, moving backward. "You ruined the plan, Sarah," he said, stepping closer to me. 50 million naira. All you had to do was to cooperate for just one night, and our lives would have changed. Why did you have to at PE? He reached out to grab my hand, to drag me back to the house, but I screamed with my last strength. "Help! Help! Kidnappers! Somebody please help me before it's too late!" The traders and early morning joggers I saw earlier heard my voice and immediately started rushing toward us. As soon as Gabriel saw how quickly a crowd was beginning to gather, he panicked. He let go of my hand, jumped into his car parked nearby, and sped off. The traders helped me. A market woman even offered me a wrapper to cover myself, and someone called the police. 2 hours later, I returned to the house, but this time around, I wasn't alone. I came with a team of policemen. When we entered the compound, we caught Gabriel and his father screaming at each other in the parlor. It seemed they were having an altercation. Gabriel was shouting at his father for allowing me to escape, while the old man was holding a red calabash in his hand. "Freeze! Nobody move!" the police inspector shouted, pointing his gun at them. They wanted to run, but there was nowhere to go. They were surrounded. "Sarah, please, tell them it's a family matter. It's our tradition," Gabriel begged, falling to his knees, crying like a baby. I looked at the man I once loved, the man who sold my dignity for 50 million naira. "Inspector, that is the man who locked me up," I said, "and that old man tried to force himself on me. Take them away." The police handcuffed Gabriel and his father, dragging them out of the house while the neighbors watched. I finally breathed a sigh of relief, went inside, packed all my bags, and walked out of that house forever. Later, I discovered that Gabriel and his father were fetish men. They actually wanted to use me to enlarge their wealth. The most shocking thing was that it wasn't their first time. Gabriel and his father had done that with 4 other women before in different cities. I was lucky I didn't take their money and allow them to have their way. As I walked away from that house for the last time, I kept asking myself one painful question. How long had I been sleeping beside a stranger pretending to be my husband? The man I loved did not protect me. The man I trusted watched me fear and still chose money over my safety. I escaped from people who smiled with me, ate with me, called me family, while secretly planning to destroy me. And that was when I understood something I will never forget for the rest of my life. The scariest betrayal is discovering that the person holding your hand is the same person leading you to destruction. If you have watched this far, I'm glad you enjoyed the story. Sue, what did you learn?